many of you know my educational background with Logos Christian Academy, formerly known Norwood Park Christian School. As an alum, and I was asked to say something about Christian education in general. This is traditionally a yearly event that becomes bothersome to many. Well, tonight I hope to bother you even more, and I hope to bother you so much that you realize the importance of education in your child's life. But I intend to do this in a non-traditional way. Some of you may know that orthopedics involves treating musculoskeletal disorder using both surgical and non-surgical means. And it comes from two words, orthos, which means to straighten or correct, and pediatrics, or in children. And our symbol is straightening up a tree and to make it to grow straight. And a common emergency room call for an orthopedic surgeon might look something like this, where they say, "Can you please come look at this child's forearm? We think there's a fracture." And although this is a commonly seen fracture pattern, to the untrained eye and the one that's not knowledgeable, they may think, "Oh, this is a simple fracture, just pull it straight out, put some immobilization on it, and it'll grow fine." And this is not the case. Even though it is a common injury, it is not as easily managed. In fact, surgical intervention may be needed a lot of the times. Now, if this was your 10-year-old child who had this injury, how would you react to the following scenario? The surgeon who's eliciting your parental consent for the surgery tells you that he doesn't see well and that he prefers to operate with no lighting in the operating room. He hasn't performed this surgery in a well-lit environment ever, but he has previously performed these surgeries in the dark, and so you shouldn't be worried. Moreover, in order to make this surgery free of cost to you as a parent, they're going to be using unsterile instruments in the OR. It's needless to say, and I hear some of you chuckling, it's needless to say that you would take your child, run away from that hospital, and go somewhere else. Somewhere where they operate in the light, where the surgeon not only has experience in treating that fracture, but can also see, and where instrumentation has been thoroughly sterilized and sterile technique is used. After all, this is your child, the most important thing you have, and it's their forearm. If this is the importance that is placed on the physical health of your child, how much more important is the spiritual health? Unfortunately, many Christians feel that the cost of a Christian school education is too much. How much would you pay to have your child's forearm straightened properly? Actually, this argument stems probably from the belief that a Christian education is not absolutely necessary. You think that despite the unsterile environment and the high rate of infection and the inadequate management of your child will get along despite the odds in the public school system. It's good enough is the argument when it comes to the world's education system. The system that is free, is infected, and is filled with teachers who live in darkness and who do not operate in the light. One blind person leading another. These teachers, even with the best intentions, cannot correct and straighten a child when needed because they just don't know the way. They do not have the light of Jesus, and they don't walk in the light. The child is spending 8 hours every day under the guidance of those who are under Satan's supervision. That's ultimately what it boils down to. Much more common than the physical injuries that can befall children during their development is the continual need for spiritual correction and straightening of their soul that is appropriate on a day-to-day basis. How can these teachers straighten and correct the child on a daily basis when they themselves live in darkness and have never operated in the light? And when proper correction does not take place, this is what happens. As a parent, you will go to great lengths and pay any sum to benefit your child's health to avoid this. An investment for 70 years, maybe 100, and then your children too will die. Such a great investment for such a short period of time, right? What about the investment for the eternity of their souls? And the truth is, by the time your child's soul looks like this, and he took the slide off, and this is the deformity, it may be too late to correct spiritually. This deformity doesn't happen overnight. It is a little angular deformity here and there that goes uncorrected and then grows as the child grows and develops into this unsightly limb. Now, some might say regarding education opportunities, some Christian schools don't have the assets and facilities. They don't have the home economics workshops for my daughter. They don't have the woodworking workshop for my son. At least this was the case when I was in school. Yes, they may not have these, but they have the soul of your child and their attention all day, every day, Monday through Friday, and that is most important. The public school system doesn't have that. And while I'm stressing the point to you that the soul is more important, I don't want some to feel that a Christian education will sacrifice knowledge. These are not mutually exclusive. In fact, the education that a child can receive will go much further than learning material. It will go into learning a way of life. I can easily, if there's any question about the education a child can receive at a Christian school, I can easily give examples of other people who have succeeded having received a Christian education, but for the sake of time, I'll share my experience and 3 things that I learned while in Christian school. I obtained a sound foundation in truth. I knew what I believed and why by the time I got to college. I learned discipline, and this is also true for sports, by the way, which can help direct time away from useless activities or even deleterious ones such as drugs. And I also learned that God deserves my best, and I learned to honor Him. And when I was in med school, and others resorted to drugs that increased their attention and learning capacity, I chose to honor God, and He honored that. I vowed to never miss Sunday church, no matter how much studying I needed to do, even during the intense and difficult testing weeks, because I learned to honor Him, and He honored that. And looking back, I know that there are many who would give up an arm and a leg, as they say, to have the opportunities that I have. This has been a long-held aspiration of mine, to be where I am, and in one of the most sought-after medical specialties out there. And I am where I am because of God's goodness and because of the education I received, not in spite of it. So, if you think that a Christian education is not good enough for your child because it doesn't offer so-called opportunities elsewhere, think again. There is more to it than meets the eye. And if you think that the price of a Christian education is too high, think again. You'd gladly spend much more if it was your child's physical health, right? And if you think that the mundane straightening and aligning of your child's spirit and soul is adequately handled daily by those who are themselves blinded by Satan, inexperienced in what the Bible teaches regarding the education of a child, and by those who don't walk in the light of truth, think again. You may be in for a disturbing surprise.